You're ready.
Oh, no. The anticipated. Okay. All right, everybody. Good afternoon. We're going to call to order the Town Commission tentative budget hearing agenda for September 9th, 2024. So, Andy, call to order. You ready? Yield to Gabby, our finance director. She'd like to present the agenda item. As you know, this is our first public hearing for the 24-25 budget year. We've gone through all of the revenues and all the expenditures. The budget that you have presented here tonight has changed since our budget work session that took place in July. As a result of an increase to the fire services and our local agreement with Orange County. And so I'll have Gabby has a presentation for you this evening. And I think it's a good presentation, and she'll stand for any questions that you have for the proposed budget by town staff. Okay.
Good evening. I'm Gabby. I'm the finance director for the town of Oakland. I've been tasked with presenting the tentative budget to you all this evening. It is my first time presenting, so please have mercy on me. And let's wait till the end to ask questions. So let's begin. So the purpose of this evening's meeting is to present the proposed millage rate, present the tentative budgets for fiscal year 25, and to present the options given by Orange County. So a little background, on June 25th, the Town Commission held a work session for fiscal year 25 budget for the General Fund, Enterprise Fund, and the Impact Fee Fund. The General Fund was presented at a 6.3 millage. Also on June 25th, the Commission approved the tentative Oakland Avenue Charter School budget for fiscal year 25. On July 12th, Orange County Fire Rescue sent a letter to Mayor Taylor regarding the proposed increase to the Fire Municipal Service Taxing Unit, or MSTU. The increase would be from 2.2437 to 2.8437. On July 23rd, the Commission approved a millage increase to 6.9 to help offset the increase from the fire rescue increase. Meetings were held regarding the fire rescue, and on August 29th, Mayor Jerry Deming sent a letter to Mayor Taylor on his decision regarding the MSTU increase and the options to the town. That brings us to today. We'll start with the general fund. The general fund budget for fiscal year 25 is budgeted at $9,797,759. This is based on the 6.9 millage that was approved back in July. We are currently evaluating a reduction in the millage, but we'll talk about that later. This general fund budget does include the full amount due to Orange County. After all the revenues and expenses are accounted for, there will be $33,645 left over. Increases to the general fund since our last meeting. As I just mentioned, this does include the full amount to the Orange County Fire Rescue. That amount is a little over $2 million. As you can see, our last bill from them was about 1.48, so that's a huge jump. This budget does still include a 4% cost of living adjustment to all town employees. There is also a 2% increase to retirement contribution for all sworn officers, making it a total of 16% that they will be receiving. This budget includes funding the compensation study that the town had done to assist with the employee turnover and compression. There is also a 3% increase from the last budget presentation to the general liability insurance and workers' comp. That is an overall 13% increase from last year, and we were expecting it to be way higher. Also included in these increases are the attorney fees and auditing fees due to recent resignations. The numbers included are not actuals, they are just estimates. Increases to the general fund. Since our last meeting, there were negotiations for health insurance. We ultimately switched from Florida League of Cities to Mulling Insurance. The town and school employees will now have Florida Blue instead of United Healthcare. This switch gave us a savings of $130,000 towards the policy. About 54 of it the town will see, and then the rest will be seen by the school. There was a decrease to the overall compensation budget for the finance administration line item. This was due to the reduction of 2 positions. The longtime finance director, Renee Mullen, retired back in May, and I took over for her. And this eliminated my old position as finance manager. And also, Melody Oliver was promoted as HR director from payroll specialist. And we merged payroll with the HR director position and eliminated that specialist out of finance. So I have my good friend, Mike Parker here. And he wanted to join in on this budget fund. So he's going to present the enterprise budget to you since he knows way more about it than I could.
Hello. I brought my trusty script with me, so. Thanks, Gabby. For the record, Mike Parker, Public Works Director for the town. And just a reminder to those of you who may have forgotten, this will likely be my final budget development session. It's the department head. So anyway, just something to think about.
Yeah, I'm taking that. You're not the last 4 years.
No, those were threats. This is a promise. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So since I'm directly responsible for several of these budget lines, I thought it would be helpful to assist Gabby with the enterprise fund part of this presentation, and also here to answer any questions you may have. When you see the total amount of the enterprise fund budget, you tend to think, wow, that's a lot of money. 9 million? In reality, that number includes grant dollars for things that have yet to be constructed. And, I'm sorry. That number includes grant dollars for things that have yet to be constructed and loan dollars for things that have not been constructed yet, things that cost a lot to build. The rest, about 2.9 million, is what it costs to operate the water, sewer, and solid waste programs. So we're projecting an increase in water revenue during 24-25 due to the level of growth we're seeing in both our residential and commercial development sectors. More customers equals more revenue and more expenses. Unfortunately, growth also means increased stresses on our utility systems to meet these growing demands. And with that growth, it reflects back to what I just talked about, the importance of grants and loans. Wastewater revenues will also increase this next year. This is predominantly due to growth with the Grove and phase 1 of Briley Farms coming online. Just think, less than 8 years ago, the entire town was served by septic systems. Fast forward to today, and we now have 12 sewer pumping stations either in operation or being constructed. Approximately 7 miles of sewer lines in place and about 230 sewer manholes. Kind of an impressive record. The enterprise fund budget also includes a 4% cost of living for all utility employees. Our utility employees, as few in numbers as they may be, are responsible for producing and distributing more than 350 million gallons of water each year through about 35 miles of pipelines to the homes and businesses in Oakland. They're also responsible for ensuring about 55 million gallons of wastewater make it to Claremont each year for treatment. So where would we be without these employees? No water in the kitchen sink and too much of something else in the toilet. And lastly, we anticipate having about 40,000 in reserve for anything we've missed. Just to be clear, this is what we anticipate having in excess for fiscal year 24-25. Not to be misinterpreted as the utility reserves, where our recent audit showed that we had approximately 1.2 million at the end of 2023. Next page. Since the draft budget was presented to the commission in June, a few changes or increases need to be noted. The first and a very important change that was made was the acquisition of another $2 million grant to be used toward construction of the alternative water project. This brings the total dollars that we have locked down now to $4 million. If you recall, the first phase of this multi-phase project will immediately remove the irrigation demands of 155 homes from our drinking water system, and then through the construction of additional transmission facilities remove about 900 more. As the design phase moves forward, we continue to look for additional funding sources for that construction. The second item that has been included since June is the $319,000 SRF loan that has been approved for design purposes of the alternative water project. This loan could also be converted to additional construction funding if it was found to be necessary. The third item is a placeholder of sorts for a grant that was applied for earlier this year. I recently had applied for an $850,000 grant that, if awarded, will be used for another septic to sewer project. It will enable several residential and commercial properties to get onto central sewer, as well as some of our town center buildings. The fourth and final change to the draft is the increase in solid waste. Since 2015, when the town last solicited for a solid waste provider, we've been fortunate to see only minor increases in this essential activity. But it looks like inflation might have caught up with us on this one. Recently, the town advertised for proposals in an effort to get a new contract in place before the old one expires in early 2025. Since the cost per thousand has not been finalized as of this date, we plugged in an estimated budget of $520,000. Any questions? Thank you. Turn it back over to Gavin.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. You're welcome.
All right, so now to quickly discuss the impact fee budget. The total budget for the impact fee this year will be $5,240,676. Out of that number, $1,358,000 will be used for projects. The remaining will be used in reserves. Here's an official breakdown of all the projects this year. There were only a few changes since the last time we met in June. To the wastewater impact fee line, we added $50,000 for the on-site sewage treatment and disposal system remediation plan. This is something that is required by the Florida DEP. To the transportation impact fee line, we increased that by $100,000 for an additional southbound lane on Catherine Ross Road. And to the water impact fee line, we actually decreased that from the $319,000 to $150,000 for additional services to the alternative water supply project for anything that isn't covered. So now we move on to the Orange County Fire Rescue and the millage options. So as I mentioned in the beginning, I believe some meetings happened between Orange County and the town. We were offered a deferral option for the first year of the new millage rate. I believe we requested a change to be charged solely on volume, but that was denied. We also requested a 1-year stay, no payment difference, but that was also denied. We ultimately were given 2 options: to pay it in full or to defer this first year and pay it back in 3 years. The chart, if you can look in your PowerPoint, shows that on the first line at the 6.9 millage, what we would pay and what we would be left with. This is what we currently budgeted for. So it's the full amount owed to Orange County, and then the leftover $33,000 that we discussed. However, there are some options below that I was asked to present everybody. Under the part that says fire rescue towards the middle of the slide, that is what the payment plan would look like. We would pay them $1.7 million, which is what our property value is at for this year, at their 2.2 millage, which is what their old millage was. We would then take what they proposed, the 2 million and some change, subtract the 1.7 from that, and that would leave us about $300,000 that we would have to pay over the next 3 years. So in fiscal year 25-26, which would be next fiscal year after this one, we would have to pay at the full millage, which is the 2.8, at our increased property value, and then the remaining breakdown of the $300,000. So we're looking at a possible $2.3 million amount to Orange County next 2 fiscal years from now. Same would follow for the year after that. So for fiscal year 26-27, there could be a possible 10% increase to the property value, which would be about $2.5 million that it would be. plus 100,000 from the leftover 300. So that would be about 2.6 million that we would have to owe. The payment plan is possible at a 6.6 millage. As I've shown at the top of the slide, that you guys can see, it breaks it down. There wouldn't be too much left over after revenue and expenses are accounted for. The 10% has also been added to revenue and to expenses. But we can't really account for a 10% increase across the board because some things cost more than just 10%. So any additional things that the town would need, like roads or repairs or maintenance or anything like that, would more than likely have to come out of reserves. There's also an option for a no payment plan, and we still reduce the millage from 6.9. We can reduce it to possibly 6.7 and pay Orange County in full and use the reserves to pay the difference owed, which would be about $126,000. Or we could even reduce it down to a full 6.6 and still pay them in full and just transfer the difference of $250,000 from reserves. So we would just pay it out, not have to owe them, let it snowball, and then, have our increased property values that we can increase to, or we can use to, make the town better or fix things or do whatever the residents need. All of that would go straight back to Orange County if we do the payment plan. And the property value should cover everything for the following years. So we wouldn't have to use reserves. So we can make sure that we had money left over and use whatever revenue we had to put it back into the town. So that's what I have so far. Pam Dwyer with OACS is going to finish it out with her budget. And then I will come back for any questions or any further clarification.
Hi, thanks. I'm Dwyer, sure that will familiar with me by now. I'm here to kind of, as I promised in June when we went for our tentative budget, that we have a few things that happened between now, then and now for final budget for tweaks. And so I just wanted to kind of give you a quick review of those tweaks. As we indicated that when we came to the table, we come with what is estimated revenues, or the revenue calculators have been released, which is usually within days of our first tentative budget hearing. So we have the FEFP revenue that is based on the revenue figures. So that was added to this current proposed budget. We adjusted our current enrollment and adjusted as needed. We've been toying around with under enrollment numbers just to make sure that our budget is well enough. And then a couple of years we went with no, the idea was let's go with actual numbers. This year we wanted to be a little bit more conservative and adjusted those numbers to make sure that we had everything covered in case we had any enrollment issues. Review end of year expenses on categories and adjusted amounts as necessary. And what I mean by that is when we came in June, we hadn't closed out the fiscal year. So there were some items that we needed to pay out and take a look at it where we landed in regards to total expenses. We made some further category refinements to ensure that we are coding different expenses properly. And we made an adjustment to one of the GL accounts to more appropriate language aligned with the Florida Red Book. The example of that is we had for a number of years labeled one of our salary categories as remedial. It's not even appropriate language. So we adjusted that to make sure that it aligned with the Red Book. And then we end up with this particular tentative budget with a reserve of around 108,000. I don't know. Okay. Any questions for me? All right. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, so right now we just requested action would be to make a decision or request a decision for Orange County if you guys want to pay it up front or pick up Mayor Denby's payment plans. And then that will determine what the millage will need to be set at. And then that will then determine what the budget needs to be adjusted to. And once we have all that, then we can request approval for the final hearing and make adjustments as needed. I don't know if, is this where I open that up or what do I do?
For questions.
There we go.
Hey, any questions?
Yeah, so what is the payment plan? You got $1.7 million. So we're paying $1,770,000 and then at least like $300,000 to pay over time.
Over time for the next 3 years until we pay it off.
Are they paying that? Are they charging us interest on that?
No, but we do have to pay it at the, so after we pay this year, next year, we have to pay it at the full millage, which is the 2.8. And then whatever our property value is, that's what the fire rescue amount is. So we projected an additional %, which I believe brings it. Can you go, can I see your little slide? That's. So we predicted that a 10% increase of property value would bring our total property value to $863 million. So if you take 2.8 times that 863 million, then divide that by 1,000. I believe they charge us like 92% of that. That's where we would have to pay, and then add an extra 100,000 for the leftover 300.
For 2,
3.
Yeah, so that would be the first year, and then we have another 2 years of that.
okay.
So we're carrying 100 for the, after this first year, we're carrying 100 every year.
Yep.
We're letting the property values catch up in the,
Correct. And we'd have to pay it at the full millage, which is the 2.8.
which would be the total what?
500 or the 2,070,000. If you pay full right now, you would pay the fire department $2,070,000. If you did the deferral package, you would pay them what we normally pay, which would be $1.4 million. So year one, you would pay that this year, 24, 25. The next year, you pay a third of that 2,070,000 plus 2,070,000.
But we will keep our millage at 6.3 overall.
Yeah, but then don't forget, as value of property goes up, that point millage goes up.
Yeah.
So it's a double-edged sword. You may be thinking, oh, I'm saving money, but in reality, we're not. So we're having to spend in the long run.
Say that at the 6.3 millage, the fire rescue plan is not feasible. We still have to transfer from reserves. So if you would like to do that, add the 6.3, we will
that's what
still have to.
I was gonna say at 6.3, the end result would cost us more money.
Yes, so we have a effect, and we still have to pull from reserves.
And then it will leave us with, what did you say, $33,000 in
6.3, we would have nothing.
You're right. Okay.
This is negative.
So,
Yes.
Yeah.
so if we bite the bullet and we do the 6.9 for this year, we pay that full amount off, we could back up the next year on our own, correct? And kind of go back to.
How far back can we back up after? 6.9.
I mean, at the 6.9, we cover it we've covered it fully. And then we wouldn't have to worry about anything. And as the increase, then we would hold on to those reserves.
So I asked, I'm sorry. Okay.
But I'm just saying at the 6.6, we could probably start covering our own after probably year 3.
So if we kept it at 6.6 from out the gate all the way out, I see one of the programs or one of the scenarios here, 6.6, we can continue 6.6 the next 3 years, get it out of reserves.
If we
It would be almost like the meeting halfway between 6.3 and 6.9, put it at 6.6 and continue at 6.6, something that we could all absorb.
So I asked Gabby, I'm sorry, Mike. I asked Gabby to run 2 scenarios, which was an assessed home value of $350,000, which is an average cost of a home, or $550,000, which is an average cost of a home if you lived in Oakland, Florida, or whatever. And if you look at 6.6 for a $350,000 home, the average person, their tax bill would increase by $105 a year. if you were to pay Orange County out at the $2 million and we would pull 115, no, 100 and I've written down somewhere
At the 6.6,
out of the reserve.
be about 255,000. The lower end would be 6.7.
It would what now?
Yeah.
The 6.7 would be about 125,000.
Out of the reserve.
Yes.
So that's why I had to run a sweet, I was trying to find a sweet spot when I was messing around, when I was looking at this with her. And that 6.7, I mean, there's $30 more, but there seems to be some sort of sweet spot at pulling 125,000 out of the reserves and then paying Orange County in full. That would still give us money left over in the town to use for who knows what could happen out there. But it's only an increase of $140 to the average homeowner a year, or $220 if your house is, you know, up there in the $550,000 mark. And that's pretty sustainable, I believe. And going back, and I pulled back looking at the millage rate from years past, and the average millage rate in Oakland was kind of that 6.7 range. Going back, and it just wasn't for the past few years that they started creeping it down. If it wasn't for Warren County, we would be sitting pretty.
Yeah, but it is what it is. So
it is what it is. Yeah,
and that was my question. I want to make sure I'm clear on. So if we go to the 6.7, 6.9, we pay them off. The next year, it's at our pleasure. We can drop it back. Well, pretty much depending on the increases that come.
You would still pay them the $2 million because that millage rate of 2.6.
Okay, there you go.
Still going to be in there. So the town's millage is not changing. The town itself millage is not changing. And one of the things I've asked in the other municipalities such as Belle Isle, Edgewater, Edgewood, and Eatonville has asked the county to do is to break out that fire millage from the overall Oakland fund. Because right now, all those towns that contract with Orange County pay for that 2.6. A normal Orange County resident, it's broken out separately. There's sheriff, there's fire emergency, there's Orange County's fee, because don't forget we pay 4.4 to the county for their whatever they help us with mosquito control. But you know, and then of course you got St. John's, you got library and everything else that goes on. So yeah, Mike, so that would always, the county's never going to go back. No. And then September 5th, from the letter I got from Demings is that he supports the increase, as well as probably most of the commissioners support the increase. So there's no really fighting it.
Yeah. They voted 6-1 to approve it. The county voted September 5th, 6-1.
Yeah. So first reading, yeah.
To kind of go with the thought that Mike had at 6.7, even though it's going to be carried and it's going to be from the fire, I think that in the future, maybe not in this scenario here, but not 3 years from now, but 4 years from now, when everything's developed, 5 years from now that we've been approving, we might start now going back to where we started 10 years ago, 12 years ago, from 6.7, 6.6, 6.5, 6, healthy.
That's kind of where I was going, but I was trying to accelerate it a little more.
Yeah, and explain 100% agree. And you know, we tried every option with the county, talking to them, even things to the point where asking them give us a flat fee. So I know that Oakwood and Windermere contracts Oakwood for fire rescue service, and it's a flat fee. I did ask the mayor to, and Andy can share that if you guys want to see it. I asked the mayor Mayor Demings to provide from Orange County Fire Department what service they provide to the town proper. Because in my opinion, it's not $2 million worth of service that they provide. Now, again, when you're in an emergency situation, you don't care how much it costs. You're going to have them come out and do it. But they did provide that accounting function for us. If you guys would like to look at that, just to see how many calls, how many runs they do on a shift. There's not a lot that happens out here. I think most things is 50 or turnpike. What it is. So, you know, and then there's other avenues I think that we all can explore and talk about in the near future. Once we get this behind us, I think we start looking at some options.
I'm really pleased with the fact that our residents won't pay 6.9. And we could have just sat by and let that happen. So if we can get to 6.7, I think it would be a good, you know.
Well, it's a start.
Good start.
And it's, you know, when you look at it, $140 for that.
The town's getting some money then if we aren't passing along this whole increase, so there's something.
Kind of like we're splitting it.
Well,
It's something that we're gonna be working off less money at 6.7. Because we're gonna be putting out that 0.2% out of the town's money.
yeah.
So now we got less money to work with.
So Gabby, explain again the and I see where Rick's trying to go here. So if we say 6.7 on a house, 2,000 estimated taxes a year. That's an increase of $140 a house. But if we're gonna say, let's pay for the increased fire fee, the fire fee increase in full today, how much has to pull out of that extra revenue we've generated from the 23-24 fiscal year that would normally have carried over to 24-25. So what was that dollar amount again?
At the 6.7?
Yeah.
It would be approximately $125,000.
So we'd have to pull the 125,000 that we would have if this increase didn't happen, that we normally have in that to cover. We're basically helping the residents out is what you're doing to cover. And that leaves how much in the 24-25 revenue, the extra carryover?
It would be about 300,000, give or take, that we could carry over.
So what you're saying is we're only gonna take a hit on this next fiscal year. But then we got enough revenues coming in to offset it.
That's my thought. So what's happening, Rick, is how I'm looking at it is this year you're gonna take a hit. You're gonna have to pull it. But now what's happening is Oakland Park houses, they're starting to get their full house bill, their tax bill. So not only are they paying they're used to paying the 5. So I've gotten a call from Oakland Park saying, "What are you doing to me?" So the problem is they've been first year they paid only on the land, so $500 tax bill. Now they're getting hit, and I'm not just picking on Oakland Park. I'm picking on new houses that they're getting hit with a tax bill of $16,000.
Yep.
Just because they're higher end houses. Let's face it. So as those kick in, that's going to help offset this cost. Now, when that hits a certain that year, there's going to be another dip because Oakland Park last phase is going to be experiencing that whole, hey, I'm only paying on land only. It won't be until the following year, 26, 27, that they will then hit their full tax bill, as well as probably the Grove and Briley Farms. So you'll be caught up. It's just this year. I think we'll have to pull that 125 out of what we could have saved if the fire department hadn't increased.
And when we caught up, we mean more. We're gonna stay there in that level for the next 2-3 years till all that gets developed and goes through the fiscal year of the tax.
Yeah.
But when that happens, there's also 4th Street. There's also the commercial. There's also commercial coming up behind racetrack. There's a lot coming up. That's why I said in the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to start doing the same thing we did 12 years ago. But we start going down from 6.7 and we'll look at it healthy enough reserves to go down to 6.6, healthy 6.5, 6.4. We will be back at 6.3 eventually.
Yeah. But I would like to see.
But as those come up, our fire rescue bill.
Yeah, of course. It's always gonna be there growing, but so will our ad valorem. At a pace that we can drop 0.1, starting 3-4 years from now,
Yeah.
and they'll offset it. Right now, it won't be.
And that was my exact point where I was trying to get. If we bite a bullet now and throw some in a couple of years, our end of it, we can go back. I know the fire rescue is never going to go backward.
No, it's not.
But yeah, it'd be fool of myself.
Not for another 15 years like they did.
Right, so it will be, that's correct, Sal.
Yeah.
For 15 years, they decided to do it, and you know, the conversation I had with Mayor Dennings was, it wasn't that the town is not opposed to the fire department or their increases or their cost of living. I mean, same here at town. One thing I told Andy is that whatever you do, I didn't want to touch the 4% cost of living increase of the town staff. That's very, very important to them. So, and I think for every resident would see that as well. It was the way it was. It could have presented in a timely fashion, I believe. I think we could have all sat here and digested it better and maybe came up with something better, but yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So
We'll be proactive for the next wave. It might not be 15 years, or maybe they might do it half the time or 10 years, depends on how fast Orange County grows. And we'll have enough reserves not to get another hit of 0.4 or 5 points up, or.
Well, that would be the hope.
Yeah.
I think again, I think if we look at this for next year, the next couple of years, maybe we look at maybe there's alternatives we can look at to help on fire service as well, other services. Yeah. But anybody in the audience have any questions or concerns? 45 right here? No? Does that sound good to you guys? Any questions? And I just a couple of notes on the budget that Gabby sent out that I have. I just kind of went through real quick, and if you guys bear with me for a minute here. I know grant writing probably very big, helps the town out a lot, the grants. So I know that Andy this year put in about 30 grand in grant writing, which I think would really help the town to help obtain some of those grants. And then if you are so happen to award or be awarded those grants, just kind of work that 30 grand back into that grant. And then there is the legislative part as far as the expenditures for travel, memberships, legislative events, meetings and workshops. I know there's monies put in there that will probably a little bit cut somewhat. If you break that out, it's about $10,250 in memberships and legislative events, stuff like that, workshops, which they're all important to go. So I don't know if your thoughts are to break it into 5 of us, it's $2,050 a person, or if you believe that we just keep it and designate. I know Joseph does a lot with Port League cities. So those are important members meetings. I think the chamber's an important one. So looking at those, if you guys want to look at each of this 2050, I know that most municipalities give their commissioners and mayor a stipend to spend for a year. Or if you want to keep it at, hey, here's the whole budget and we only got $10,250 to spend between the 5 of us. So just you think about that, I guess. I have one for Mike Parker. Yeah, I gotta find it.
Mayor, before you go on to the Mike Parker.
Yes, sir.
I like the idea of just having the lump sum bucket for all of us.
Okay.
There may be some years, Joseph, like that we don't have to go to the diplomat. West Palm. They all have it here locally in Orlando. We all 5 of us go at a fraction of the cost. So, you just don't know what year or what the events we're going to be going to that you can just share from the pot. And if it's almost for the good of the town, so it won't be money spent unwisely. So, If we're under the 10,000, great. If we're at 11,000, it's gonna be for a purpose to learn and bring, like you have been doing, Joseph, grants, networking, bringing,
Well,
a lot of things to our town that benefit us.
and that would make sense, I would think too, Shane, because what it would involve, if we end up splitting it up, then ultimately when he needs more and I have it, it's gonna transfer over anyway.
That's fine with me. I just was putting it out there to you guys to think about it that way. I know that some municipalities do it that way.
Yeah. You're up, Parker.
Parker. So town septic to sewer, at 850,000, that was a grant, right? But that was the one that the governor said, hey, I'm vetoing that. You got to go to.
That's correct. Yeah, he vetoed, it was 650,000 in the legislative budget, and then he vetoed it. So we just redid it and got some new cost estimates. And then we didn't go to the governor's office. We went to FDEP for that.
Okay, so that's coming hopefully.
And we'll know whether or not we get it probably about March or April.
Okay.
Next year.
And I saw a couple of the transportations here under the impact fee fund for transportation. There was one on here for the intersection of Winners Landing and Monkey as you come out of Oakland Park, which is an absolutely nightmare of a intersection.
Yeah,
driven through there.
Yeah, so
yeah, go through Southern Oaks and go around the loop, and you hit that dip before you get to the trail.
And
on
that whole asphalt falling apart there.
But not Southern Oaks. But I'm talking about if you go into Southern Oaks, going to Oakland Park, keep going like you're going out to Oakland Avenue through Winners Landing.
Yeah. Where the street used to end there, now it goes through. It's not a good scenario. So this fiscal year that we're in right now, we actually had a design budget in this year, and they're rapidly closing the loop on that. And I've seen a preliminary plan for that intersection, but it'll basically redo the intersection, so it'll be a smoother transition.
Okay.
That's
so that 100,000 though, that's all strictly town. There's no developer monies going towards it like Oakland Park or anything like that.
No, there's not.
Okay, and the same with Jefferson Street and Oakland Avenue improvements.
Jefferson, I think the development agreement for phase 2 has a number. I think it's 75,000 from the developer
that they're contributing.
Yes.
Okay. Pleasure. Okay. I think that's all I had, guys. You guys got anything?
You also have the roundabout brick.
Yeah.
Planters and the acorns.
That would be the entry kind of feature, right?
Yes, very nice.
Hey, I want to add one comment to the travel also. It is not just I think it's just an essential piece of our budget. I don't think that's something that should be really look at to be reviewed as a drag or a negative, because there are a lot of resources that come from those meetings. And we really need to start thinking about sending other staff to develop, because what you're doing is developing our staff, especially the managers and, those staff members need to go outside of this town, whoever replaces Parker. We need to make sure we're developing our staff, because the institutional knowledge that's about to leave this place is not going to be the same when Parker leaves. And so we need to make sure, Renee was replaced. So we need to make sure we have the right people in place and they have the right type of education to make us better. Because if they go to these meetings, you bring back a lot of resources. You may look at me going there, but I come back with a lot of resources of what up 2 or 3 of us went at some of these meetings and coming back and divide and conquer. So I really feel that that's an area that we really have done a disservice to our town to ensure the success for our future. Because I really feel, and we've all been to the meeting here in Orlando, and Sal and I have been to several meetings, and there's things that Sal would see that I would never see you know, he met a person that's gonna help us with our charter.
Yeah.
I mean, that wouldn't have happened if Commissioner Raymond was there. Right, right. So, and we, you know, Andy's new here, but he's not new to being a manager. Those ICMA meetings, and it's a lot of networking. I mean, a lot of best practices. And, you know, when I bring stuff back, trust me, I'm bringing stuff back from what I'm seeing, not from what I am creating. So I really think we're doing ourselves a disservice if we ever look at it. I've always said, Satterfield will say, I've always said we need to push that and bring more people to those meetings. You know, they always know I'm always joking with them, but seriously, I really just don't think that should be a number that we play with. Because if you don't invest into our staff to make it better, you know, we're really gonna really hurt ourselves. Because we, you know, I would love to have Gabby go to a finance meeting and definitely have, you know, our town manager and assistant go to some of these ICMA meetings to see what's going on around, not just the state, around the country, because they bring back some good stuff. And it's not all fun and game. There's a lot of networking that happens. And, you know, just the fact that me having access to or learning about the grants and, you know, having us get free access to grants. I learned that at a meeting. I didn't learn that, you know, being in the town of Brooklyn. So that's my 2 cents, but I really think, you know, and we had a growing spurt, and we at that point that we really need to have great new ideas come on board to really help us to be prepared for the future. So
I agree with you. I think those meetings are important. The reason I pointed out is it enough?
I don't think so.
Do you need to increase it? And then what does that number need to be?
I don't think, well, we can do an average of, you know, even looking at me as somebody. Normally Orlando, I mean, well, FLC, I usually only go to 2 things, FLC and LLC. Orlando is really, I mean, FLC is really every year. Because when we do the one in Orlando, we only, you know, it is travel because we've never paid for our hotel. Now, me being a part of certain boards, I've got my stuff paid for outside of the town. So there's a lot of times I go someplace in town that they even know I'm going to a meeting next week. The town's not paying for it. I'm going to a board meeting. The town's not paying for it. Florida League of Cities is paying for it. They're paying for my travel and my hotel. I'm leaving next Thursday. And so there's a lot of, you know, sometimes when I go out to these conferences, town doesn't pay for my food all the time. I get free food from the conferences because I'm so active in these meetings. I think we need to look at that number. You can look at me and see what I spent over the years and, you know, do like an average. And I, you know, Mike's been here a long time. Mike is probably not going to go. You know, I'm not sure. Rick, he may want to go here and there, but, you know, I'm going to be honest with you. I need you to be there. I need the mayor to be at those meetings because there are mayor meetings just for the mayors.
Yeah, I'm on the Florida League.
But I think, you know, there's a NLC in Tampa in November.
Yeah.
That'd be a great one for you to insert yourself and you will see some of the collaboration. And
I web in on the Florida League of Mayors.
So going in live is a whole lot different.
Yeah, I agree. I hear you.
It's a whole lot different.
So it's a difference of last year, $1,000 is what it was removed from the meeting and workshops. Do you keep it the same as it was last year, knowing that you're not coming here, or do you look at it following year? If it's important, then it's important. It's important for the town.
But that's just my opinion.
It's just like running a business. When you have a business, you got to pay for that type of stuff to keep your business growing.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I like that scenario because you got to pay for your staff. You got to educate your staff.
Yep.
To help them to grow.
What's happened to this spending?
Well, that would be where you started.
That's it. Yeah.
What have we done?
I just don't think it should be a point of conversation about us increasing. If anything,
Yeah, but I got to take that
because
I
can't remember the last town manager. I'm not sure. I know Dennis went to something, but I'm not sure if Steve went. Steve would go. Yeah, here and there. So it should not be a number we look at to decrease. I think it should definitely be a number.
And I spend a lot of money going there, and I don't bring back.
Yeah, I take my own
Travel, my own dinner. I mean, I don't bring that back. Hotel, if I remember the invoice.
I'm gonna take my lease.
Well, we should go on and on with it. I just think it's not find the number.
Yeah.
Just find the number, and the number is $1,000, then just plug the number in, and that's the number for legislative functions for the town.
You just want,
We got our,
budget, you want up in there, is what
Have a budget, yeah, you should have a budget. Right now, it's $3,000 for travel per diem, that's, last year was $4,000. Membership fees, $2,500, we have it at $2,500, because we probably have a historical accountability, and that's what it costs for membership fees. Legislative events for $2,000 this year, it's $750 for next year. Which I'm guessing is probably the Florida City conferences and stuff like that. Is that correct? Where it's not out of town, it's more here?
Yeah.
Is that enough? And then meetings and workshops, 5,000 last year, 4,000 this year. Hey, look, I would love that. Send Gabby and Lisa and whoever else from the town staff to learn something and do something. The town is not the town that it was years ago.
Exactly.
It absolutely grown. And by leaps and bounds.
But you have to remember that some of the training budgets are in our own one. So like Gabby went to a training, and so that was from her own budget. It wasn't from your guys' budget, right?
That's good information to know. So then it sounds like that's just for us.
This is just legislative. Yeah, this is just a legislative budget. So what I can do is get with each of you, and if you're gonna go to the league conference, just gotta give me let me know if you're gonna go, we'll budget it.
And you too.
And if you don't, and if you don't go, then it just will be under budget as the previous years. So I think,
well, we've got 2 weeks to really find that hard number. So let's do that homework on what we have done in the past and move on, and then we bring it up and we either.
I don't think, not opposed to it, it's just what the number is, right? That fits what we do.
Awesome.
All right. That's all I had on my comments on the budget. Anyone else?
There, you get back to our decision, I reckon.
Yes, sir. So there's three approvals or considerations in front of us. So do we have to read each one separately?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. I believe probably voting on the Orange County Fire Rescue decision would be first.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So then that one would basically is, do we look at setting that or deciding to pay in full the Orange County increased millage rate? That would be the first one, right? Is that how you would word that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So that's the first one in front of us. Anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion, we pay Orange County Fire Department in full.
Okay, motion's made.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, so that one's good. So now we go A, B, and C, is that correct?
Yes, the next should be the millage. Correct, Gabby? Correct. Yes.
All right, anybody want to make a motion on A? For the approved tentative millage rate for fiscal year 24-25, tentative millage rate.
You ready for a motion?
Yeah, oh yeah, sorry, yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the tentative millage rate of 6.7.
Okay, second. All in favor? Aye, okay. Next is D, approved tentative budget for 24-25, but again, we're gonna go and talk about our the legislative portion. Let's see what that real number needs to be.
Yes. Basic. Currently is as.
Okay.
yeah, there shouldn't be much changes between anything discussed here and your final.
Yeah.
Whatever you've got.
False. Okay, so a motion for D.
I'll make that motion to approve the tentative the budget 24-25 with that corrections.
All in favor? Okay, the last one is approve the final budget public hearing date, which would be
On September 24th
September
at 6 p.m.
6 p.m. right here. Okay. Motion.
Motion to approve the final budget date is September 24th.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Okay, guys, that's it for today. Thank you. Return. Meeting at 7. Nobody.
I know outside the meeting, we're gonna make sure we hear.
We're back on.
Okay. Everybody, we're back. We're calling the meeting in session, guys, who just showed up. So let's call order the commission meeting for September 9th, 2024. Everybody stand for allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Father God, thank you once again for entrusting us with your town. We ask you that you give us your wisdom and discernment to make the best decisions for our town residents. Please, may we honor you in all we say this evening. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. At least.
Here.
Present.
Vice Mayor Satterfield.
Here.
Mayor Taylor.
Here.
Mayor Paul.
All right, great, guys. Okay, proclamation. We got 2 of them tonight. You ready?
Slow down.
You ready? Slow down. Go read them. Okay, this is the town of Oakland, and this proclamation is the Florida Missing Children's Day. Whereas September 9th, 2024, aligned with Florida Statute 683.23 designated the second Monday of September as Florida Missing Children's Day. And this day is dedicated to raising awareness about missing children in Florida, particularly those missing due to family abduction, while non-family abductions remain rare, comprising only 1% of missing children cases reported to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And whereas family abductions impact numerous families across the nation, causing sufficient or significant emotional and psychological trauma to both the child and left behind family, and September provides a crucial opportunity to support national efforts to reduce family abductions, reunite missing children with their families, and honor those committed to this cause. And whereas a family abduction occurs when a child is taken wrongfully retained or concealed by a parent or other family member, denying another individual or right to custody or visitation, even in cases with unclear or absent court orders, and such abductions are often driven by the perpetrators' frustrations with the left behind parent, the legal system, or their personal circumstances. And whereas Oakland is committed to remaining vigilant and informed about the dangers facing children in our community, recognizing that family abduction is a serious crime in all states, not merely a civil matter. Law enforcement officers should treat these incidents as severe forms of child abuse rather than minor offenses, and whereas it is essential for law enforcement agencies to have written plans outlining actions and procedures for promptly addressing family abduction cases. And courts have determined that law enforcement must ensure children are with their lawful custodians and verify the validity of any court orders and failure to establish necessary training policies for the correct public safety. And now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Town Commission of Oakland, Florida, in collaboration with national parents organizations and its affiliated organizations, that September 9, 2024 shall be recognized as Florida Missing Children's Day in Oakland, and be it furthermore proclaimed that the Oakland Police Department is encouraged to conduct community outreach initiatives to educate residents about the prevalence, risks, and consequences of family abductions, and provide guidance on warning signs, preventative measures, and available resources to address this critical issue effectively. There we go. That's one.
I think you sped up a little bit.
A little bit. All right, here's the next one. It is Constitution Week 2024. Whereas September 17th, 2024 marks the 237th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its inaugural anniversary, and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion. And whereas Public Law 915 guarantees issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America, designating September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week. Now, therefore, I change to the Mayor of the Town of Oakland, do hereby proclaim September 17th through the 23rd, 2024 as Constitution Week in the town of Oakland, Florida, and ask our citizens to study the Constitution to reflect on the privilege of being an American with all the rights and responsibilities which that privilege involves. All right. My American hot dog. Can you stand up on the table? Yeah, I got shit on the camera. Okay, guys, moving on to public forum. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on a topic that they do not see on the agenda tonight? What's happening in town? Hey, Mr. Bacon arrived today. Nothing? Oh, please. You did it on purpose. What are you going for? Good, how are you?
You slide in, right?
There's a request, nothing that's for the town, but I want to see if we can, that wall by the basketball court, not where the, house is at, but, right behind the, right next to the playground. If we can do like a mural on that, right there. Or with the town permission, I can get somebody to look at it and see if they can put something out there.
Give an idea.
Yeah, I got some, I'll open suggestion, but I think because the rain and the paint on that gate is kind of coming off, and look at that dilapidated. It's a beautiful park, so I think put something right there that's better than what is out there right now. It's a
great idea.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Last call. Okay. Got the public forum. Now moving on to the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, the minutes from last August 27th meeting, the OACS evacuation sites and managers report on that. And before we do ask for a motion, I want to in that manager's report there is a Melody prepares an employment anniversary every month. And I like to recognize those for long service. And on this one was Mrs. Brandon Hall. I don't know if anybody's kids had her. My kids had her as a teacher. 17 years at Oakland Avenue Charter School. So congratulations on there. Pretty long time.
All my kids went through her.
Yeah,
all four of them.
All so yeah. So with that being said, we'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, next is moving on to the tree replacement agreement with Southern Oaks HOA. Mr. Mayor, members of the town commission. Just a tree replacement agreement for the Southern Oaks HOA Association. As you recall, in 2024, the town contracted a dredging company to remove sediment at a Lake Popka. In addition, as part of that work, the contractor placed some sediment on the HOA property, which the town has since been surveyed. The HOA brought it to the town's attention that it was private property, and they had some requirements that wanted the town to look at. One was the sediment itself. We had the sediment tested to ensure that it was under the threshold of any type of pollutants. And then also they had a concern about the trees that were down in this area because the contractor had placed 2 or 3 inches of sediment over the root system of the trees. And so we had our arborist go down. I also requested the contractor, my partner and myself were down there several times to remove as much sediment as possible. However, we couldn't remove all the sediment without damaging the root systems of the trees themselves. And so we met with the HOA through emails and met with them there on site. And we were able to work out this agreement, which basically says that if any of the trees die within the surveyed area that you'll see attached to this agreement, that the town within the next 5 years would go back and replace any of those trees. They're not very large trees in nature, but there are trees that I guess if they are damaged, that we would need to go in and take care of those, remove the tree itself, and then replace it with a tree of similar nature. And then it also in this agreement, which was drafted by our town attorney, also takes the onus off of the HOA to make any future improvements to the embankment that was repaired. So if there's any future issues that the town won't require the HOA to make those repairs. And so these are basically the 2 things in this agreement that it encompasses. And there is no money out of the town's pocket for this. It's just kind of a good neighbor type thing.
being that the town did place some sediment into that surveyed area during the project. So with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you, Andy. I will say that, and I hope that, I noticed with the heavy rain we've had, you probably looked at it, was the pond that Oakland Park created with that storm structure regulating water. It really helps out a lot.
Oh, definitely.
Blasting water, just blasting down
Yeah.
through there. So,
Yeah, that's not the case anymore.
yeah, so I think hopefully things will improve. Is there anyone from HOA who'd like to speak? How are you?
I'm good, I appreciate it. Scott Gordon, 70 Mill Holland. I'm currently treasurer of the Southern Oaks HOA board. So first off, I'd like to say that it's unfortunate that we had to even come to the agreement that, you know, the sediment was put on the property. Fortunately, it wasn't 2 or 3 inches, it was actually in excess of a foot in many places throughout. That said, I would like to say that, you know, Andy was great in working with the HOA to rectify that. Most of the sand was able to be removed, smoothed out. So just want to say thank you and appreciate, you know, you working with the HOA to kind of come to a mutual resolution on this.
Okay, thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. You need to bring it back table, make a motion to accept this agreement.
I'll make a motion to accept the tree replacement agreement, Southern Oaks HOA.
Second? Second. All right, all in favor? Aye. Okay, guys. All right, moving on to the public parking and traffic study. Oh, this nice one. I like this. Great. Andy, again?
Yeah, town events over the past several years have grown in popularity, and parking has been accommodated for these events through the partnerships formed through local churches. In addition, the Oakland Police Department and Oakland Avenue Charter School continuously look for ways to reduce student drop-off times to aid in the reduction of school traffic on public roadways. Commissioner Satterfield suggested utilizing a section of the west portion of the Oakland Avenue Charter School that may assist town in meeting the needs of public parking, while also creating an alternative entrance to help alleviate traffic during Oakland OACS student drop-off and pickup. Town staff is recommending conducting a study, not a very intensive study, but a study that would study the surrounding areas of OACS to determine if there is an opportunity for additional public parking in town, as well as alternative means to improve parent and student experiences at OACS. All town department directors input would be included in the study to ensure all needs are met throughout the town departments to include OACS. The goal of this study would be to make improvements that benefit the surrounding residents, the school, local churches, businesses, and the town. So what I've provided you here, the attachment is basically just a quick sketch that I did myself of some of the potential areas that we would look at as far as turning some of this possibly into some type of public parking, shared use with the school during school hours, and then open up some available parking on the weekends. But with this comes a whole nother, you know, a bigger picture there with the kind of like these 4 or 5 surrounding blocks, looking at all the entrances and exits, the areas that we know receive a lot of traffic. Obviously Lakeside Church requires a parking for their facility, and then we have event parking, and then also we have the school drop off and staging areas for pickup. And so we wanted to look at the whole picture so we could possibly make improvements that would meet the needs and satisfy everybody involved in the town. So this is not necessarily a fixed plan. There is an old drain field on this particular piece of property.
Andy, can you put them on the screen?
I don't have it.
For the rest.
Yeah. You don't have it? It's happened though. Yeah, well, we could, you can't pull it. Can we pull it up on the property appraiser? No, if you can.
You guys. Because they're not seeing what we have. Nobody in.
I know.
While she's looking for it, let me just tell you how we got here, whether I first took the principal out to kind of make sure of what they really used and what they didn't use. And the principal was in full agreement that is about 80 feet across parking lot that would shoot north and come up behind Tractor Supply. to that easement right there that, they really don't use at all, and they would have no problem. They would take and move their gate, because what we can do is soften the hardness of the school for the security. So the school has agreed that they would move their gate, which is over there, to wherever, you know, whenever we chain it off, wherever we're going to go with it, they would move their gate, and then they would have that, you know, the same way to it, same access so the kids could get out. The only question, and then I brought Andy over there, and again, it just sounded like it was an idea that would work for everybody. We could accommodate Lakeside when they need it. We have our own problems that we have had forever since we built that property catty corner from my house. That when we have our events where we can't park people, that it would be, you know, additional parking for us for our town events. And kind of the other part to it is, in the back end of it is, we might even be able to divert some of the school traffic to come off to go across that loop. And instead of going down
Back on Star.
Back Star onto, they might come in the back way and loop through to shoot back into the parking lot.
We had on the north side, which is south of the Tractor Supply.
Right.
We start the line right from the baseball field, or that
exactly, just come straight on in. So
and make that line instead of having our line with all those vehicles on Oakland Avenue.
Right. And then they're not in front of those houses, or they're right there on Star also. So maybe
If you go to base map, to the top left.
So that's kind of the reasoning for it, and it just kind of serves everybody's purpose.
For 2024. Yeah.
So if you want to just, can you drag it over to the right a little bit, the other side?
A bit more.
There you go.
All right, Andy, you want to put that up?
Yeah, so, you know, the idea was. Was this west about maybe possibly try to utilize you know, maybe like a third. We got to, of course, work with the school, and there's a little drain field here. And currently the fence comes all the way down here. So possibly, you know, move the fence to here and open all this up, you know, for public parking. But there is some other future uses here on the right of way that I know Mike Parker's been working with. For the developer on 50 here, that could possibly provide a back entrance. And there may just be some other traffic patterns that we can do to help improve traffic for the school. We were able to utilize this in the mornings. Of course, the need for parking is in town right currently. It's just on the weekends. And so this wouldn't necessarily eliminate the use by the school, but there could be a way to possibly separate this from the field that the school uses on the weekends to provide for parking, possibly tie in to the existing school parking lot, which is currently vacant. The town does have an agreement with the Anointed Church, which I believe is here, to utilize, you know, some parking there for their services. I don't believe they're currently having services now. So there's an opportunity there as well to open that up to possibly public parking. On the weekends, we have to work with the school as far as the hardening of the school, make sure everything's outside of basically the fence and security related issues. But we wanted to look at everything kind of in the whole, draw a circle of 4 or 5 blocks and get everybody at the table to determine what the future plan would be for this. We obviously, if we can address the parking issue now without spending a lot of money, that might be something we look at or phase in a long-term plan. But the proposal tonight is I would get with probably one of our smaller traffic engineers to pull this together, probably Myra, and have everybody sit down at the table and bring back to the town commission a plan with everybody's.
Anointing Ground had a deal with us, but they still have the academy, the school. Mm-hmm. They don't have the weekend usage anymore, correct?
Correct.
And we've always looked for ways to alleviate all that traffic that get bottlenecks on Oakland Avenue and go down Sadler, east, west, and Brock, and keep the traffic on the south side of Tractor Supply, on the north side of Tractor Supply, along that easement. So long as we have a fence in between those two fences for the hardening of the school.
That's what we're proposing.
Mike, have we abandoned that that sewer, those sewer lines, those septic lines?
Sure can. You can park on it as it is. You don't have to do anything. It just, it's a raised area.
Yeah. It's a hump, but if it won't go everything down, that was my.
Stable enough that the cars won't.
I'm pretty sure it is. We'd have to look at that. That'll come with the study.
Whoa, wait. You're pretty sure?
Mary said there are some residents here, so.
Can we put a time park in your own room?
There are some residents that, to the far west of that field that you may have to come back with some sort of solid fence to, you know, block any of the views or lights in the evenings or something, but.
Is that south strip, is that town? Is that like a right of way?
Yes, it's right of way.
I think we're gonna require this developer here, this piece to give us the right of way.
So-
Yeah, they've already agreed to it, in
So this could essentially open up and free up. This is Reagan's concerns about parking off from her house to the
Yes.
police where, I mean, look, Lakeside has a lot of members that,
A little bit more left, Elise.
so
Property right there.
instead of parking in front of Paul like they do now, that could give them access to kind of park there. Now, would they be able to use the asphalt parking lot as well?
Yes.
So it all connects?
The only thing would be with somehow or another that when we know that we have a school event or something on the weekend, which is very, very rare, that we give sufficient notice and block off the hard part of it.
Mike, we'd have to have two gates. Right now, we have a gate on the north side next to the entrance of the school. We'd have to have a east gate.
You actually don't need a gate there at all when you move it over and harden the school on the side to the east. You don't really need gates at all for a parking lot.
Well, to get to the asphalt.
You really don't need that there either.
Okay.
Yeah, well, there's no reason you would need a gate just to get to the asphalt part of the parking lot. When it's okay, it's already, Anointed Church already has an agreement to park there anyway when stuff comes, so it could be open. As a matter of fact, it is open. The parking lot really is open and asphalt now.
It's just a gate that's around the.
Right, it's around the grass part.
Correct. That's where I mean, that's where you need the gate at the field.
Yeah, you would need the gate to move to the east. And that's what you would need. But in the north and the south, you wouldn't.
I don't know if they would be able to take all the parking lots, but at least the north side, those lots 7 through 12 could be abandoned. And we can show Lakeside a new caution tape fence or line where they don't have to park on lots 7 through 12 by Hull Avenue. That'll satisfy that resident.
That's what the mayor was talking about, correct? We could alleviate that problem. That's why I say this at 20,000 feet, this piece of property, which the town owns anyway, and the school doesn't need anyway, now that we don't have to have septic tanks there, would solve a multitude of problems.
Cool. All right, so any other discussions from anybody in the audience? No?
Well, let me just say, if you're gonna pave it, if that's one of the options, you'll have to take into consideration the drainage and everything over there, because you'd be crossing 2 swales and.
I propose the grass.
That's what I would say.
Just like the other people.
I would leave
grass.
Yeah.
The only thing that'll have to be eventually paved is Sadler Avenue all the way to east-west with a deal with the developer. But that field itself would stay
I think that was
grass.
Yeah.
And the church would be very happy.
Do we need to give any permission to do this?
Yes.
Okay, so I want to make a motion. We will allow the town to solicit a backup planner, right?
Yep. Okay. I'll make that motion to give authority to Andy to get a traffic planner and work on the town property to the west of the school.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
All right.
Okay.
Good idea, Mike.
All right, Andy, your turn again for the town manager.
I don't have much this evening. I'm glad to see that the budget's moving forward. It's been a very difficult budget year. You know, this is the first time I've ever been a part of a budget where it changed so drastically at the last minute at no fault of our own. So with that being said, I appreciate the department heads and the work they do daily and all of our town employees. That's all I have this evening.
Thank you. Well. Hey, Jessica. Jessica.
Yeah, we have a farmer's market this week. We're celebrating many things. This is farmer's market, celebrating Hispanic heritage with live music and flamenco guitar, as well as special Latin vendors. And the farmer's market is during 1 year school. Wow. Later in the day on Thursday is the art of bird photography at the center. So, pretty big.
Chief, anything for you? Aaron? Gabby?
You see, got nothing. Look like Florida State.
Chief said nothing.
Plus, you got 0 wins. What's up?
Gabby, nothing?
No, yes, anybody has questions about it, you know.
Absolutely.
But I'll give you a comment for your very first one.
Good job. Yeah. Good job. Mike?
I think the only thing is, just keep in mind where Garden is making, quite a bit of improvement to the Oakland Avenue and this, brick road down there.
Yeah.
And we were informed by them a couple of weeks ago that they will be doing some single lane, lane closures. So it's coming up. It's a pretty big project for them.
What is the project? Just so everybody knows.
I didn't go into details, not in Oakland, so, yeah. I have no idea. Just improvement.
Oakland Avenue, anybody know?
545 and.
Oakland.
Oh, they're gonna actually put a turn lane going, east. They're gonna be a little bit of a turn lane there, is my understanding.
Okay. Turn lane going east, from.
To turn right on 545, but it's, I don't know, it's like a year and a half project.
To this morning, there were surveyors out there still.
Oh, they put all those flags back up there?
The turning lane.
Yeah.
Turning lane is actually to go south away from going south on 545, because that bottlenecks when you're coming from the east side going west towards our town from Winter Garden. And whenever they have to make a left there going south, it backs up traffic. Yeah, they make a run for it. So they're reconfirming, and that's something that they brought up at the Metro Plan years back. I mean, this Metro Plan makes a plan and it takes 5 years to come to fruition. And we're there now.
Definitely something needs to be done there. So, thanks, Mike. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Elise? Nope. Great. Sounds, you got anything good?
Yes, speaking of Metro Plan, so I know we're doing the inventory bike walk in Central Florida, the plan for the sidewalk and connectivity. But I was there at the meeting last week and they had said it's already open, the $3.8 million, as everybody knows, it's already open, the federal Safe Streets All grants, it's open. And I talked to Amy Beckman, who said, have your town manager reach out to us when we're done with the plan that they're doing themselves. We'll implement it and we can apply for a grant for our sidewalks wherever we need it in Oakland Avenue or Touch Street. So, and then while I was at the Metro Plan, talking to the commissioner from Winter Park, Commissioner Marty, who was talking about EVs, charging stations and how they're beginning to charge. Because right now it's free, but they're charging them now for their station. But they have a training that I was talking to Chief about for accidents. So EVs that break down or have accidents, like a Tesla, the police and fire rescue have a free training that I would like someone in our, either the chief or the deputy to go and get trained and train the rest of them. It happens to be that they catch on fire and they go on fire for a long, long time. That in Winter Park and Longwood and Castleberry, the tow trucks stop taking them. So if there's a first responders, they have to wait for the vehicle to turn off. And they could be for hours and hours and hours because the tow trucks themselves, if they put them on there, the tow truck will melt with the car. They decided to decline. So any tow truck that comes over just declines it, says we won't pick it up till it shuts down. So there's some training for accidents that the police officers were going through. And I said, hey, look, if you haven't gone through it, I like our police officers to go through it. So I asked Chief Eason, he said they don't know about it. So we'll bring that information to the chief. And then Florida League of Cities, speaking of. I know that last meeting I wasn't here, and I know that Mike, you had brought it up, but I wanted to put it on the record. There's a charter review consultant, a senior advisor, Thomas Harmer, who lives in Oakland, moved into Oakland Park last year, who says he will do free consultant for the charter review committee that we put together, that we have to put together a year prior to delivering the 10-year mark. So which we have to have a committee started this October. And he would be happy to come over here and do the first opening consultant. Any of us can join and walk the committee members that we choose through what they have to expect and what to do. And he's available for free. The FLC, he says, I'm the senior advisor. I'll come do it. I'll bring my staff and I'll walk you guys. So eventually, when we get past these sessions of the budget, we'll have to start talking about this October and find out, put it out there, post it, or Jessica, whoever we're gonna have. This gentleman will help us bring the requirements of what he would like to choose from the citizens, what knowledge and what background they should have for them to be involved in this. So, great, I have the information.
And he would be involved in choosing the candidates.
No, actually, he would be there on the time around when they get together. He'll give us a breakdown of
that's what I thought.
Of what we need to post to have the applications, but once we pick them, he'll be there for the first meeting to kick it off. And he'll be available at any other meeting.
Each commissioner will appoint a member to be on the charter review. So it'll be up to each of you to pick your person.
We have experienced charter review, citizens, but they may not be available. They may not want to be part of it. We'll reach out to them. I could be part of it. I know, I understand it. I've been there 3 years, so. All right. Great.
Just a reminder, Saturday, September 21st is Nature Fest at the Preserve from 10 to 2. Pumpkin Glow. Yeah, I don't have the date on top.
Flyer. Friday night.
It's a good event.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is October 25th, 5:39.
Nothing.
I'm good.
Oh, Mayor, I forgot.
Oh.
Parker.
Yeah.
The audit selection committee received all of their proposals because it closed. So we received 4 proposals from firms. So they will be reviewing it, and sometime this week or possibly next week, looking more like next week, we will meet.
So have you picked the date yet?
Waiting for everybody to respond back with their when it's available.
Okay. Name again. That is. Okay. Hey, a couple things I'd like to do for future meetings, and I don't know, Andy, if you want to dedicate some time with this. I know we used to do this a while back, a few times, but we used to have the local churches send a representative to the invitations at the meetings. And maybe it might be a good idea to maybe start that again for go around to the local churches to the invitation. Just send a representative. It could be the pastor, it could be a deacon, it could be anybody. Just come in, do the invitation, they can leave. We can do that.
You know how we did it back then? Dennis had put it together with that coalition of churches.
Yes.
And that's how, and they were all talking to each other, and they actually did it between them to say it's your turn and we move on.
Yeah.
So maybe it's starting that way, and getting them all together in a meeting might be a way to start this.
Has to follow up with that, because I've tried, but if you don't have someone who's diligently sending the email and saying it's your turn, because we have a chaplain who's done it before, Andy.
Yeah.
I know Lakeside's into it, and they said they would be happy to participate. So we just need to maybe hit the other churches and open it up to any and all religions.
Is that from council thing? Because I can take care of that. I can throw my head into help.
I mean, yeah, anybody that you can do, yeah. Okay,
I just heard a volunteer. I don't know about you.
just, you know, just be kind of nice. Nothing against Sal here and his voice or, or his occasion. You know, just, I think.
Get up with God.
No,
I'm just his conduit.
I think it would just be good if we had. So, we have a lot of church. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it. And then I know there was the dirt road survey, but I don't believe the results are still pending and we're waiting for those to publish, or are we gonna talk about that soon? Monday?
We can bring that up. I believe I emailed everybody the results of the survey. So
We'll wait that for the budget and then
just wait till after the budget. Yeah, we're looking to see, if we finish this fiscal year and if we have any excess funds, then maybe we'll have some funds to try to come up with a solution. I know Nathan, the Assistant Public Works Director, has gotten some pricing for some possibly like some millings, a portion of that, which is like a third of the cost. And it kind of doesn't have the same look as asphalt. And it's supposed to hold up just as long if you put it down correctly. So we're gonna maybe try a block of that. And then, you know, we had talked about different materials and things like that. But I think it's at this point, we just need to either look at paving the roads or putting down some other type of, figure out one type of material to do. We talked about mixing and all of that, but it's expensive.
So once we're done with the budget, we'll be able to
talk about it. So then, yeah, so we'll bring back the results of the survey just for informational purposes. Bring it up at the meeting, we can put it on our agenda. And there's really no rhyme or reason behind it other than we can put it out there on the internet and to kind of, you can use it as whatever type of gauge and tool that the commission brings, but there'll be no decisions. Town staff won't make any decisions on the survey.
Okay. Okay. And then the last thing I have on here was there's been a lot of people commenting and people talking about the quality of cell service here in town. So I'm just gonna throw this out here, jump over against the wall, and you're gonna tell me what you think. But there's really no cell tower in town. It's like in a dead zone right here. What are the thoughts on looking at putting cell antennas or tower on one tower?
So right now, our code does not allow for that, or we'd have to modify our code to allow for something like
that. There's revenue generated off of that.
Let me just say, we looked at that about 6 months ago, and that's when the code thing came up. We had a company that came in and wanted to do that. But number two is we don't have the ground space for the support equipment, you know, out here.
Okay, so if you can't do it there, then we need to think about alternatives.
The industrial zoned areas, or maybe
that's where it's allowable right now.
Yeah.
In industrial, it has to be so many feet away from residential.
Yeah, maybe at the self-storage site over here, possibly.
Something where the self-service could be better.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, there's a lot of people that you know, it's on their table, it's terrible out here, everything's terrible out here, and you know, it's everything that we can do to try to, I know a lot of people work from home and, you know, they rely on their cell phones, but, you know, that's the first thing that came to mind was a structure that's already there. And, you know, it could be something as a, you know, tower somewhere else. But I think if the town has some land and they can generate some revenue off of it.
I gotta tell you,
it's a lot of money.
When I was with Pepsi, I would take it and ran our tower out because we had all of our radios, and it was a very nice income generator for Pepsi.
Yeah, it's a lot of money if you have it, but just thoughts if you guys can think about it and see what we can do. Because I'm sure there's plenty of companies out there that will jump in here and help us out.
So, well, I can add just one piece of the conversation. The Spectrum representative was at the FLC breakfast and asked if we have any challenges out here. So I would give her information.
Well, no, they
You're
just
gonna say kind of you.
stopped by this week to do a survey of our buildings in town center.
Yeah.
So hopefully we're moving in the right direction with that.
Have you ever been in town hall and can't get a call?
It's really bad.
In any of our houses.
Yeah, in the houses, it's just terrible.
Yeah.
And I did tell her that I left Spectrum because of the challenges I had out here.
Yeah.
she was surprised to hear that, but so she did all.
Use, because I need some.
I use Verizon, but I did share that.
Yeah,
that
we've been talking to them.
I see them, you know, I work from home, so I stopped using them because they will go down so much and I have a hotspot, so. It's always been.
That's what we use.
I'm gonna ask, if you're breaking up cell phones, bring up spectrum, if we're gonna discuss it, when we talk about those of us who live in like the older part of Oakland, who we have no options other than spectrum for internet service, because we're still working on old coaxial, like, can we get fiber on? Because some of us work from home.
Sometimes those utility providers have agreements with municipalities.
Exactly.
On to bring that in where they get a residual off of bringing fiber and how many subscribers or people sign up for them. They'll get a percentage, the town will get a percentage off of it. So I think it's like Joseph said, it's probably talking to that spectrum rep. And I mean, it's a big infrastructure job. They'd have to go through and underground.
They wouldn't do it just for one resident. They'd have to do the whole neighborhood.
I imagine that.
Down there, I'm not the only one.
Oh, you're speaking for someone on this table. Yeah. So.
You're speaking for a whole lot of us.
Yeah. I think the cell tower is something that's viable. Really, I know it sounds crazy, but it's something viable and really look at and to do.
I mean,
Like trees.
the other thing you can do is you can make an exception in your code for town emergency services.
Correct.
That language used to be in there. Somehow it got taken out. So that may be something we can do as well.
On the water tower.
Well, just in general.
What would that require? It's the town commission wanting to do something in town. Does the code apply?
I'm sorry, what's the?
If the town wants to put an antenna on the water tower, does the town code apply to the town?
The town's generally required to follow a code.
Yeah, that's what some of the jurisdictions have an exception for town services, right?
Okay.
So that would be the way to approach that.
Would be in the code,
Right.
Yes.
So we gotta be, I know that just my very limited experience on cell towers and installing, working with cell tower people that there's heat maps and it tells you where the coverage area is. So wherever you place it, you have to be very careful to make sure that, okay, well, we're gonna place an industrial park, but it still doesn't do anything here. So we have to be, mindful on where's the center of population or center of the reach of it.
Well, and you be prepared for the not in my backyard issue.
Well, yeah. But, once they get their things,
Well, they won't be able to call and complain because they can't get through.
I do want to mention on the spectrum issue. I have a lot of family members that work in the cable business. And when you have a particular provider, they own the rights to that area and no other providers in. So the Spectrum owns this area. Comcast, CenturyLink, those people usually are not allowed to encroach on their area.
They have CenturyLink.
Yeah, there's previous agreements that are in place, but no other new ones can come in.
It's disheartening to watch them.
Yeah.
Drilling and I'm watching through Winter's Landing. They're putting fiber in for Oakland Park to get all their nice fresh fiber. But we're 300 yards away. And there's no plan for that to come towards us.
It might be Spectrum fiber, but they might just have to extend over to us.
I know we have CenturyLink and Longleaf.
we talked about this contract.
So, they might be contract, you know how long that contract is?
Yeah.
I don't know. So like, let's say that Southern Oaks has Spectrum. They have Spectrum, CenturyLink cannot come in there. But if you have CenturyLink, Spectrum cannot come in there, type of thing.
My neighborhood, the new neighborhood, and we have Spectrum and CenturyLink, and Pulte, I think, has a relationship.
They ran it both. They ran
both, yeah. But I would think that there can't be an indefinite agreement. I mean,
it's usually like a no compete clause type of thing.
There's got to be some
It might be well, maybe bring somebody from the
Well, on the cell phones. I think technology is pretty close to where.
Guys, hold on, Rick, what was that, Rick?
Just want to say that I'm not sure how far out it is, but the technology for cell phones is gonna be, in my opinion, gonna be working off of satellites and not cell towers pretty soon.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, AT&T and Verizon have already signed up with a company that's launching a bunch of satellites Thursday from the Cape. And so I think we're getting pretty close to, which is gonna be really nice.
Somebody got my new phone.
Yeah.
That the towers will be obsolete.
But yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna be using
Towers
tower
are gonna
lights.
be obsolete, in my opinion.
Take it down, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, anything else from anybody? No? All right, Joseph.
Of all hearts and minds are satisfied, let's adjourn. It is 7:50 PM.
Okay, thank you guys.